Welcome back, round 3 with Uncle Mike West. Welcome back to the studio. We're going to carry on our discussion of your time in the various special forces. So, with the coffee ready, let's go.
You have never lived until you have nearly died. And this is a fact now. You have never lived until you have nearly died. And for those of us who have had to fight for it, life has a flavor the protected will never know.
These are the men of the fourth commander of the Rhodesian light infantry.
Who are the guys on that photo? Is that Daryl Watt?
No.
Who is that?
This was when we were at Fort Rev, which was on Dangba swap operations. Now the tall guy is John Brocker. He was a Dutchman, Hollander. My trip, he came, I taught him, he came to me, and I took him into combat. A brilliant soldier, very, very gutsy, no fear. And the other one is Uzi, also a good operator.
And that handsome Rambo guy in the middle, who's that? Is that you?
The guy with the 60-round magazine, yeah, that was somebody that was a bit of a nutcase.
So size does matter then, eh? Okay.
Well, if you look at the size of John compared to me, he was much bigger than me. Big lad.
And behind me, there's also a photograph up, yeah?
Yeah.
Tell us about this guy.
That was Op Colosseum. Now, there's so many, there's books written about this, and a lot of the books give a total different story what actually happened on the ground. I led the teams from the south. I heard about people saying they led the teams with this and that. I led the teams, and I took the photos of proof. And we came across many of these trenches and bunkers. Now, what happened, as we were moving through the thing, the normal procedure is to burn. But now think of you, there were MiGs up in the air. Now, MiGs flying up air, checking down, can see as the fire moves where you are. So I got a message through to to the commanding officer, and I said, I'm seizing the burning right now because I'm making a target. If a MiG comes in, they know exactly where to strike. We can lose because I had a hell of an extended line going. It was a very, very big base camp. And I must have had about 30 people in the skirmish line sweeping through it. Yes, the bayonet is there for a reason. When you go into a bunker,
Use
good
the
thing to
bayonet.
have a bayonet. Yeah, it's good to have a bayonet.
So even in, like I say modern war, in your time it was more modern than World War II, World War I, where they used bayonets. I've still got a World War II bayonet in my cupboard that I got from an uncle of mine. But so you guys still use bayonets. So they still today use bayonets.
I don't want to go into too much detail. We didn't have a lot. Even in SAS, I never used bayonet. When we did the camp attacks, when we went into trenches. And if you read about Andre Skip in the trench, he also didn't have a bayonet. On this specific one, I put a bayonet because we were right in the middle of the camp. And there was trenches all over. So I put a bayonet on just for backup. Now, if you find a guy there, you shoot him. That's as simple as that. But I just had the bayonet on just in case. But I didn't have to use it, put it aside. Yeah. But it was handy in the event of I didn't need it.
So talking about weird situations and trenches and areas, tell us about the time when you guys walked into Beira.
Okay.
Or the bus rank.
Yeah, what happened was we had to go and demolish an exchange system, the communication center in Beira. And we had a team, I think it was about 11 guys. I've got the photos of the guys. And the whole plan of this was, because we were going into middle of Beira, the countries there was war on the go. The Frelimo troops that used to walk in Beira used to walk in a formation. And the information we got back from our people was the formations, how they walked. We were going to do the same. I had to walk in front of the RPD, Colin, Ott, and myself, of course, right in front of everything. But we went in with a strike craft. Now, a lot of things change when you're out there, and the weather and compromising and situations. My recollection of us, we had to deploy on the Sunday night at 9 o'clock when we had to walk into Beira from the beach, enter a certain area, and the buses come at night and pick the people up. Now, on the Sunday night, when we had to enter Beira, 9 o'clock, there was going to be nobody on the bus stops. It was quiet, and that's why we could have got to our target. However, whatever went wrong, I don't know what all went wrong. You hear a lot of things afterwards, which I don't want to speculate on. We landed on the Monday on the beach. And after feeding the fish, because remember, we get very seasick because our eardrums have been perforated on numerous times, and to keep food down is difficult. So that's why we drink a lot of custard. Anyway, we deployed on the...
You drink a lot of custard?
Yeah, they give us a lot of custard on the strike craft. You can drink as much custard as you want.
Okay,
yeah. Beautiful stuff. I love custard. Still today, I'm addicted to this stuff. Yeah, it's a whole different scenario.
Okay, so you drink custard on the way?
As much as you want. You can drink, they give you boxes and boxes of cartridge. You can drink as much custard.
That's fucking interesting, eh?
Oh.
I wonder why that is. We must go look that up at some stage.
It's very common on the strike craft. I remember when with the ops you finish and you leave, you have your what they call a ball sock, your big kit bag, and the cooks would just load us, and you pile all this custard and stuff, and you get home and you give it to your kids, and they have a ball of a time on all the goodies, dog biscuits and custards.
Yeah,
they load it in.
So now you fed the fish, right? Now you got into Beira. It was the Monday. Okay. Not the Sunday.
Yeah. This was the mess up. We were late. So when we got on the beach, we were all, when you come off a strike craft and you've been feeding fish for thousands of kilometers, you're very groggy, and when you stand on the beach, you actually can feel yourself still rocking. Feels like you're still on the boat. It stays with you. But however, the adrenaline kicks in, and I tell you what, then you rock with the adrenaline. And anyway, we got up and we walked in, and woe betide. We get into this area and the bus stops are packed with people. Right.
And you guys are strolling through.
And now we're walking casually in the middle of hell. I mean, that's really looking for trouble now.
So these are civilians waiting at the bus stop. They've just finished working. Yeah. They're not going to go home.
Yeah.
And here come these guys.
And well, seeing it, we knew their procedure, how they walk through the town, because they have patrols. I mean, it was war. Yeah, we're walking down the street, and the civilians are whistling and screaming, and we just, and I remember we got Black is Beautiful all over. So,
And you're armed.
You're armed. Yeah, but they all armed as well. Everybody, the patrols that walk, they're armed. So we look exactly like them. We got their uniform on. We have black as hell with all the shit that we stuck on ourselves. And yeah, we're waltzing and we walk the same as them. So they didn't think it any strange, but obviously there's a lot of these females and stuff, and they probably like the troops. Anyway, they're whistling and screaming and waving us, and we're just casually walking into hell.
But you're trying to be as inconspicuous as possible.
Well, how inconspicuous you can be walking on the tar road, everybody can see you. So you just walk. You just play the game. Don't act nervous. Just walk. Yeah, we're plodding along. There's a lot of noise. And I tell you, it was noisy. Somehow or the other, this drew the attention of
the enemy.
Troops. Yeah, the enemy. And I remember we got off the tar road. We entered a veld area, which we had to cross to get to our target. And all of a sudden, you had two guys standing with AKs in front of us, about, I would say, 30 meters, no more. Now, I was in front with the RPD, with Colin. Now, our orders were, if we walk into anything, and we're there in case the shit hits a fan. We got the machine guns to really lay down fire. All we got to do is step out to the side. then the two officers in the middle with the silenced weapons will get rid of whatever in front, which is exactly what happened. We moved to the side. These two guys got taken out. I can't tell you what happened after that. It became a live show. And the team leader bolted, straight. We ran towards Beira, the lights of Beira. We were moving towards there because we couldn't go back the way we had come. And while we're dashing, there was a furrow in front of us. And I clearly remember grey sludge in it, whatever that was. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't running. And we had to jump across this thing. And we're heavily laden. Anyway, I'm behind and the team leader's up ahead of me. Now can you imagine, as he jumps over, on the back of his webbing had a pouch which had the only communications system we had. It wasn't too big a thing, but it was our comms to get us out of Beira. And as he bailed over and landed on the other side and got up and ran, there the pouch fell on the ground and he wasn't aware of it, because it's Guy Fawkes now. And I jumped over and I stooped and I grabbed it. And I just ran after the guys. I'm now more or less at the bloody back, And I'm taking after them. Got to a certain point and I said to him, "Sir, the radio." And he just said, "Thank you." Now, that's all I want to say about that. He took it. Anyway, we moved into Beira. We're in the shit now. There's civvies everywhere now. Fortunately, they didn't get involved in this stuff. And as we're moving into the town, it's a normal built-up area, like a town, where all of a sudden we hear this heavy engine coming. And we thought, that's it, we're dead. Probably a BRDM, could be a fucking tank. I don't know what but it's armor coming. And everybody just dived for cover behind whatever they could find. I remember there was some buildings, some guys stopped behind. I was behind some form of a substation with my RPD. But honestly, from my heart, I can tell you, I thought it's the end of the line. Because had it been a BRDM with a 12-7, which is a 20mm, which is mounted on the top, and he gave one burst at me behind this thing, me and all of us would have gone to the happy hunting grounds. But and the chances of killing him in a BRDM, it's highly unlikely. Anyway, we were waiting, everybody waiting for the vehicle to come. We knew it's the end of the line. And woe betide, it's one of these garbage trucks that came around. Wow. You know what a relief it was. We were up 6 and we gapped it. And we ran through and we headed for the beach. As we get to the beach, a team leader got on the radio. Luckily, I picked it up, or else what would have happened? We would have been stranded on that beach. Everybody knew all the civvies saw the direction we moved. The troops knew where we were. We would have to dive into the sea to become shark bait, drown, or whatever. But we would never have made it. And he called, and in came the Kevlar boats to pick it. Now, I think we had Zodiacs at that, the rubber ducks. It was way back. It was 1979 that we did this one. And they came in and they uplifted us. Do you know the relief that the whole lot of us got out of it? How it happened, how we got out of it, I still cannot explain.
Okay, so you didn't blow up the exchange then? You had to abort. Did you guys go? What happens when you abort a mission? Do you feel, obviously you feel like you failed, but do you get, when a mission's aborted, do they send you back again, or do they?
No, that we didn't go back. That thing is so complicated. Remember, we were 11 guys, and there's probably like 6,000 of them.
But now they know that you were there. Obviously, it makes sense that you were there to blow up something.
They didn't know. Nobody knew why we were there. Nobody had any idea because we didn't get near our target, and we just had to get out there. You can't. There's no way you can go back over there and try and replan and go back. Because they'll be alert this time because they know what happened.
Because they saw you there.
Yeah, we have to repeat the same procedure. We've got to get back in there again.
So, Uncle Mike, how many of these aborted missions are they? Like, and when a mission's aborted, it obviously, the strategy then completely changes.
Everything changes. You know, when we go on operations like this, it's very, very delicate and very dangerous, obviously. This is, I'll say again, we're not heroes. We people are told to do a job, and we look forward to it, and we go and do it. You know, it's a job, man. We don't sit and, you know, get a nappy rash about it. We actually laugh. We were walking around in Cape Town before that, touring the Cape, and we were having good fun, man. And we look forward to these things. If it gets aborted, it gets aborted. There's nothing. You're just grateful that you can get out. Now, before we went on this journey of ours, they didn't say to us, in the event, which is emergency, something go wrong, these are the procedures we're going to follow. They didn't think it was going to happen because it looked like a walk in the park. Walk into the town, there's nobody. Walk to kill the people, set the explosives, and blow the place up. Looked like just a daily little task. It didn't perturb any of us. We were actually looking forward to it, but it went wrong. And there were no emergency procedures in place, but automatically we did what we had to do. We couldn't go back the way we come. We wouldn't have got out. So we just ran in. Oh. There's always, if a mission is completed according to, and it goes off the way, of course there's ways of getting out. Everything is laid down. Now, most of the jobs you go on, you get an emergency procedure on the way in. Things that can go wrong before you get to the target. Emergency procedures. Like if you go in with a chopper and a chopper gets shot down, or somebody gets killed in the chopper, or the chopper crashes. It doesn't matter. You've got to have procedures to cover that. That's your infiltration. Then you have emergency procedure on the ground, which is an entirely different ball game now. What can go wrong whilst you're on the ground? We are overrun. You've got a bombshell. You've got to get away. You've got to have emergency procedures. How you go about it. It's a very, very delicate thing. It's really something for professional people. Put it this way. It's very, very severe because we're always against unbelievable odds. We never go up against even numbers. We're always outnumbered. It's the way it works. And then you got your third phase is your exfiltration. You have emergency procedures, so things that can happen there. So you have to cover most of these operations with emergency procedures. How do you know emergency procedures? From experience. You can't sit and guess what can go wrong. Oh, you can say, okay, this happened, that happened, but things are a lot different on the ground than what you can even begin to imagine. When things go wrong, they go wrong in a very weird way. And each and every member in that team must know exactly what he's going to do. If he's split up from the rest of the group, where he's got to go to, there's so much you've got to know. And it's a hell of a lot of planning.
So, speaking of things that go wrong, I remember also you've got a very interesting story about landing on your rifle when you came down on the parachute.
What happened was, I was at Grand Reef near Mtali, and we got a call out that the terrorist group was coming in, and the choppers went out and they engaged these guys. And then we came over with the deck, and then they lob us out. Now I had the MAG. Now it's strung over your right shoulder. Yeah, it sits on the back of you, and it's a piece of paracord that comes over and it attaches on one of the links here. And this weapon is basically hangs just a little way off the ground. It's a big weapon, a heavy weapon. Then you've got a 100-round belt that's wrapped around it that you tie on it, because when on the ground you can't sit and put a belt in the gun. It's got to be ready. You just got to throw it off and go into combat. And they lobbed us out. And I remember when I was out, remember these chutes cannot be steered. And it was heading in a direction. I was going backwards. And so you look over you, and you've got to look around you, because people shooting at you. You've got to see where you are. You've got to be very, very aware of what you're doing. Anyway, I was going backwards, and I could see I was heading into rough terrain. But it doesn't matter. We are men. We take what comes, Your legs don't break that easy. We somehow we survived it. But as I came in, I prepared for a right-hand land. I turned my feet off, put my elbow down to try and You cannot go with straight legs. You must bend your legs to take the shock. You can get hurt. Anyway, I land on my MAG, this massive weapon with a 100-round belt wrapped around it. And get there. Now you got a quick release box on your chest. You pull out a safety pin, you turn it, you hit it, and you get out of your harness. Get a harness, pull my gun off, and take the gun, and I see, but there's no butt. And the sling that comes from the weapon onto the butt, which you throw over your shoulders, and you walk with it, into combat. This there, the butt is lying on the sling. So all I did, I threw the sling over my shoulder with a piece of butt. Now I've got a MAG.
With a short handle.
Machine gun with a pistol grip, and I let the bipods out. So I had the bipods and I had the MAG like a submachine gun now. Now this is a typical Rambo scene.
Yeah, that's Rambo.
It is crazy, but most people couldn't cope with stuff like that. But remember, there's the pawpaws hit the fan. There are people shooting at you and you're in hard time. So I've got this MAG by the pistol grip, and I've got it in the bipods, and I'm going into combat. And the team leader is now getting instructions from the gunship, from the K-car, how we must move. Like for argument's sake, that high ground, north, east of you, head directly for the main group. Anyway, we're assaulting and we get in the punch-up. And of course, we didn't lose anybody. We culled these guys. Killed quite a few of them. And I had a young guy next to me, a phenomenal, his name was Edward Lindsell. Rest in peace, he passed away a little while ago. Very, very awesome little operator, gutsy little. These guys that, you can't believe it, kids like us have got
guts.
Balls of steel. I haven't got another word. These people were fearless. But once you're in a line of fearless people, you are fearless as well. If you're on your own, you're going to have a different ball game. You know what I mean? But you got all these crazy little guys that are attacking. And anyway, in his line, he was on my, I don't know if I can't remember, it was my left flank. He killed an RPD gunner, which had an RPD with a drum on it. It's a steel drum which holds 100 rounds. We didn't use these drums because they were noisy. We used pouches. But anyway, remember, I was now a taxi driver in the RLI. And all of a sudden, they come and they take my the chopper lands because we had culled this whole lot and we had to sweep further to another point to see where the rest had run. So the chopper land, they threw my MAG on with, I think, 2 of the gooks for identification. I didn't really know what was going on. I mean, this is fire baptism. I didn't know much about war. And yeah, I'm sitting with this weapon and I fell in love with it. It is unbelievable. It's the most beautiful weapon I've ever seen. And I was excited. Anyway, we got an extended line. And, well, I knew where the safety catch was. I knew where the barrel was, trigger was. And I thought, I'm good with this. And we moved. Unfortunately, I didn't kill anybody with it because that would have been the highlight of my life, And we swept in there. And anyway, eventually the choppers came and took us, got us out. They took the old RPD away from me. And I just got another MAG. It was a moment in my life that I'll never forget. To go into combat with a broken weapon. That thing weighs what, 11, 12 kg with a 100-round belt? I don't know. I've got to guess. It's a long time, maybe 13, 15 kilograms. And I'm studying this thing with this belt hanging on it, like a little submachine gun. And I tell you, I was pumping it. I had no fear. I had to keep up. You can't, once you're in a skirmish line, you can't dawdle. You must stay with it. You've got to stay in the line. But, you got to go forward.
How many operations have you been in? Without naming names, of course.
How many times have you brushed your teeth?
Because you've been in a lot of operations. That's, I think, the main reason why we have the book, and where you're called a super soldier. Because, I mean, you were in so many. At one stage, I remember reading, you came back to base and all you wanted to do was just like get freshened up and have some time off, and they sent you out immediately again. Yes,
the incident happened where a few 5-1 guys disappeared on the operation. I've got all their names. I don't want to talk about it. They went out on the op and they disappeared. That was at Mdangwa. Then they took me from one Recce. The commanding officer said, Mike West, take the guys We've got to go and find these guys, black operators. Anyway, I went out immediately. As he got back, I went out. I didn't mind it. I had an incident with a God of War. I'm telling you, the God of War is everything in my life. Without the God of War, I do not believe I would have been here. If I had another teacher, I probably wouldn't have made it. But what the God of War taught me was how to overcome fear. Fear becomes a part of your life. I've been with people in a firing line where we're taking heavy fire. Now, you get down in a kneeling position and you put heavy fire down and you win the firefight. Once you win the firefight, then you get the command to assault. Now, I've been with guys that take their time. But with the God of War, another story. And that's where I learned to overcome. Look, initially, I didn't really know what fear was because I went into war and it was a job and I didn't realize that I actually could die. It was just, honestly, it's not stupidity. I just didn't reason that way. I just thought you go out and you kill people. There's a good joke about two women sitting and chatting at having tea. And the one guy says, "Oh, my little son Johnny, he's got a nice helmet and webbing, a thing on the chest with bullets and a big gun, and he's going to go in, he's going to kill all these people." And the other woman says, "But aren't you scared they kill him?" She says, "Now, why would they do that? They don't even know him." But this was my type of attitude. I went into the thing without actually realizing what was going on. But as time went on, I got a friend by the name of Kenneth Swatch, Blackie, from 3-2 Battalion, one awesome, phenomenal, brilliant operator, really a guy who's made impact in life, really a good soldier. He accurately described it. I could never describe rounds going all around you or kicking up dust around you. He used to say, "Sounds like popcorn." And I said, "Shit, spot on." When that round comes right past, it's a weird sound. You cannot explain it to people, especially if you're lying and you're getting fired on from trenches. It's another ball game. You have to overcome fear. Hero. I don't know how to. I want people to understand I'm not here to talk about heroics. I'm not a hero at all. It was a job. When you're taking firing from a position and you have to assault it, you can't just lie there because you're going to die. You have to assault. And, well, you must remember when you're assaulting, there are people on the other side physically aiming at you and taking shots at you with the purpose of killing you. And so, you don't think of things like that. You leave things like that. Your job when you lead is to keep control and get this momentum because you cannot win if you don't go forward. If they pin you down, you're going to die. You've got to put a hell of a firing rate down and attack these guys. And this is where the God of War is stands out above anybody else I've ever seen in my life. I've been actually next to him in situations where you've got to pump your legs to keep up with him. That little guy, he was as wide as what he was tall, the most potent human being I've met in my life. This guy was a killing machine.
What happened to Daryl? Like, how did you land up in the Recce's, number one? And during that time, did you and Daryl split up?
Yes. When I came to the Recce's, Daryl also came down. Daryl did get involved in a certain operation. I'm not going to go into detail, where one of our SAS operators died, which was not his responsibility. There was a command structure who sent Daryl as a forward position where these the guys deployed from. Daryl was not in charge of it. He was told to do what. And the operation went wrong when all the guys died. And Daryl took the flak for it. And Daryl just decided he's not joining this bloody circus, So by the way they treated him. Daryl Watt does not fuck up. Daryl Watt, in all the time I was with Daryl Watt, even when we were losing, it was Mapai, I think it is, when we were told to retreat. I didn't even know we were retreating because I was Daryl. I just followed Darryl. Whatever Darryl went, I would go because Darryl was unstoppable. Darryl didn't hold back. Even when we hit punch-ups, I know of a lot of contacts been with other team leaders. When you hit a punch-up, after the punch-up, you move out of the area because it's attracting more and more people. Not Darryl Watt. Darryl Watt would go after you. You don't mess with Darryl Watt. If you mess with him, you're going to come short. Darryl Watt was a machine, mate.
So, how did it happen? I'd like for you also to explain to us, if you can, like I think last time you kind of touched on it, the difference between one recce, two recce, blah 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 blah, and then also how did you from the SAS talk us through that, like the transition to the recce's, because you were in two different recce groups, if you call it that. Now, how did that happen? How did
June 80, when Rhodesia fell and these other puppies took over. A part of the SAS, not all of them, decided to come down to one recce and they took us in a 6 recce. You must remember the recce's, whether people want to know it or not, never existed without the SAS. The initial guy, which I'm going to mention, named Jan Breitenbach, brilliant man, came down to Rhodesia, came there and learned what the SA was about, came back, and then this whole thing started to get a special forces story on the ground. Then whole group came down, learned how we did our selections so they could do the same down here to get a quality soldier. And then once they'd been trained over here and done the selections and passed, they sent them to Rhodesia, and they came and we went into the bush with them. In other words, we were already the soldiers. They came in and we took them into war. Very good guys, brilliant soldiers. The Recce's came down there. They were awesome lads, and we loved them. And it was nice. They came in over there as D Squadron. We were C Squadron. They came and operated D Squadron. Anyway, they were good lads, and they came to war, and that's how they came about. Now, in June 80, when the whole story collapsed in Rhodesia, a whole group of us came down, and we joined one recce, but we came as 6 recce. And we had to get rid of all our SAS colors, and we had to don these browns and these maroon berets and stuff, which we didn't feel comfortable in the stuff. I mean, everything was camouflage. It's so part of the war, this brown. I don't know, whenever I saw brown clothes, it just didn't resonate favorably. Probably had to do with, I don't know the whole planning, but probably it's got to do with radar or whatever, I don't know. Look, it's not a bad camo in the bush anyway, you know. But we came down and we joined them. There was a lot of friction over there, to tell you. Then we went on the Matola raid in Mozambique, which is in the book, when we hit various targets. 1 recce hit a target. 6 recce, which is out, we hit 2 targets. That's where 3 of our very good guys died. At the 1 target, on my target, I was there with Mike Recce, the same 19-year-old kid that taught me war in the RLI. Because remember, I went from Grey Scouts to 2 Commander, and my commander was this 19-year-old kid. I tell you what, that guy belongs on a gangplank. He was a model of a guy. I think I mentioned this. Yes, he looks like a Tom Cruise, man. But fuck, what a gutsy guy. What a phenomenal, gutsy soldier.
Years later, when you then joined the Recce's, then the two of you served together again.
He came down to the Recce's with. He was also part of 6 Recce. He was there, and we did. And when we hit the Matola targets in Mozambique, Mike Recce was my team commander.
Oh, wow.
When we hit our target where Dave got wounded, we hit the Pawpaw, hit the fan. But we got wounded, and my friend Dave got wounded. I carried him out 30 meters, and Dave was a big lad. I had to take him back to the vehicle with my back turned on the house, you know, thinking you're going to get a bullet from behind, you know. And Frank stayed by the door. Anyway, I put Dave on. We went back and we did the target. Yes, that was one recce. But what happened after Matilda, there was a lot of conflict and whatever. Let's not go into politics. And most of the guys said, we've had enough of this crap because we were not parade ground. SAS was not parade ground puppets. Yeah, they liked their parade in the morning, every morning parade, a quick inspection, and they pray before. We were not like anything. But anyway, the guys decided, screw this, and they left. I, however, stayed because I came from South Africa, and they went all over the world, and I wanted war, and this is where the war was, so I stayed with it. And that was now, then we became one recce, one recce, they call it 1.1 recce. The few of us that were over, 90% of them bombshell, went to all other places in the world, wanted nothing to do with the recces. We stayed. And that was my life in one recce. Now, one recce is a very specialized unit, not to get away from it. Their sole purpose is to infiltrate deep behind enemy lines by whichever means possible, which is strike craft or submarine. We get dropped up there, we infiltrate strategic positions and destroy them, and so collapse the economy, and etc., etc. That is the task of a special forces soldier. So it was there, and we did that, but I ever landed on different little things when they would send me out, because I came from Rhodesia and I was in a war, and I would be used to go out to Ndangwa for certain little fights, which I enjoyed, because I was more familiar than that then. Not that I had any hesitant about playing a place. It was nice doing that. But I enjoyed the combat side more, because I loved the smell of cordite. I just somehow, it resonated, favored me. And that it was with me. Anyway, that was at one recce. And things went on and on and on, and there was a lot of this, that, and the others that happened. And eventually, to put it mildly, I landed up with a bunch of psychiatrists. Paul Meyer was the head psychiatrist at Recce. They sort of thought that I was not normal. And these puppies, which I'll call them, or I don't want to call them monkeys, because I think their qualifications, they should stick it somewhere where they don't want it. They deemed me to be a Jekyll and Hyde. That I was going to be a problem, because things that went wrong in my life, and I reacted differently than other people, where when things go wrong, people must sort of react in the same way, because this is a procedure. I didn't react that way, and a lot of things went wrong. Anyway, they decided that they got to get rid of me. So I remember coming back from the psychiatrist, landing at the station. I remember the guy who picked me up with the jeep took me there and said, no, the commanding officer is waiting to see it. That was quite late. Landed there, he said to me, listen, Mike, we got problems at Ndangwa. We're sending you up there tomorrow. We're taking you down to Waterkloof. We're flying you out there. You've got to go and help out there, which I was happy about. Anyway, when I got home, my family was gone. So I knew there was obviously things. My house was deserted. My whole family's gone, but I'm not going to go into it. It's a boring topic. I spent 9 months of the year away in war. So to keep a family was not exactly an easy thing. Anyway, I went out the next day and I landed at Fort Rev, where the SWAPO people were. And
where is that?
Ndangwa. Okay. And the commanding officer was a guy who I knew, but somehow their energies didn't match. I didn't like him. I didn't like his way that he addressed people, but I mean, that's a personal thing. But there were also a lot of people that he was in charge of this base. I remember landing there and with my war trunk and all my kit, stopped there, and I had to go into his office. I got in there, I had to salute the puppy, saluted him, and he just said to me, listen, China, you're not going back to South Africa. You're going to stay here. You're permanently transferred. And I said to him, but what about my family? He says, that's not my problem. You are here. Get your gear ready. You're deploying tonight. Wow. Go. Tell me to go. Went, got my gear ready. Didn't know what I was going into. Prepared my kit. I don't want to mention the guy's name. They took me in a Casper and they drove me out. Probably, it took me a while to get to the target. I'll never forget, it was full moon the night. And I was sitting in the back of the Casper and I could see this officer was taking me out with a couple of other troops, black troops, in the vehicle. We're going out. And we got to a point, he was on the small means, which he was talking to the team on the ground, which was a swapper operator with a name. I'm not going to mention his name. He was the big boy amongst the swap operators. Anyway, the back door opened. I had to get out, got on the ground, Casper made a turn, and was gone. I'm standing in the middle of nowhere. And all of a sudden, I'm surrounded by 3-4 groups, guys, in the night. They showed me. I walked to them, they were in a LUP, I had to lay down. That was, I could see they were bedded down for the night. I lay down there and I was thinking, what the hell is going on? Now I'm totally lost. No orders. Nothing told me what I'm going to do. Nobody told me anything what's going to happen on the ground. I think the commander of the base was just so happy to chuck me in that situation and make me feel like a piece of whatever. Anyway, it was uncomfortable. I was honestly quite confused. Couldn't put one and one together because I didn't know what I was supposed to do there. Ever the next morning, we were up when the survival chickens start calling in the morning. You're up early, you never sleep late in the bush. And we started to move, and I just followed them. I mean, I'm now being commanded by SWAT. Yeah. I knew they were captured gooks, obviously. And it turned. I knew what it was because I had gone to work from that camp before. And here I'm walking with these guys. Yeah, about, I don't know, about 8 o'clock or something. We were very fortunate. We landed up in a punch-up, which was beautiful because that's what I needed to wake me up. We killed, I think, 7 guys over there. We walked into them, but they knew, look, they know where the enemy are. Come from there. Anyway, we killed a whole lot, and that lifted my spirits because I didn't feel so empty. And now I knew why I was there. I was killing people, and that's why I was in the bush. Anyway, we were out there for a few days, had the odd little punch-up, which resonated favorably with me. I liked this type of thing. And we came back to the base camp, and from then onwards, I would get in the base camp. You must hear how ridiculous it is. And normally when people get back off a trip, they're back for a few days to shower, relax, maybe have a couple of toots in the pub and eat and relax. Told as I get back, next day I tell, get ready, you're going out. You're taking a team out. No break. But it's swap operations. What are you doing in the base camp anyway? And out I went again. But this time I took guys out. Every time we go out, we have some sort of a fight. It's normal too, because they are swapper. They know we're swapper. And normally when we land up in the punch-up and you get a capture or two, we bring them back. And then these guys get interrogated and they tell us where the rest of the guys are, where the possibility. Then we go out and we can take these guys on. This is what these pseudo operations were all about. So I had quite a few of these type of things. And a lot of them, to be honest with you, a lot of them.
More than brushing your teeth.
Yes. Yeah, well, I brushed, I didn't have much time to brush my teeth. Like, brushing your teeth, you mentioned it. Before we deployed these operations, I have mentioned this before, we make a fire with smoke and you stand it so you can stink and get rid of this. Because, we use soap. Soap smells on your skin. It stays with you. Believe it or not, same with toothpaste. We used to have a little stick like this, or just a dry toothbrush, and you brush your teeth with salt so you don't have smell, or you use this little stick it made like a furry fluff thing like they use, and you brush your teeth with that. But you had to get rid of the smells. Of those operations, I deployed many times. And eventually, this chap here came and joined me. And I took him out on ops. And this guy was like a duck to water. He just blended in. And he loved combat. And I went into punch-ups with him, and he's a nutter. He was absolutely courageous guy. He had no fear. And I loved this guy. Yeah, next to me, this guy had guts in him.
When you go into war with someone in your team, does it bring you closer together? Is there some truth that someone like me who's a civvy, never experienced it, is it true that there's a bond that forms between you guys that's there forever?
What you say is true. Now, what happens is, with new intakes coming in, new guys, and you've got to take them out, to get them to understand the whole thing, you've got to be quite harsh. And Darryl Watt was very good with that. Like I tell you, he would take you out the night before, sit with you. First time he's taking, see your habits and see if you're snoring, and decide if he take you out to who he wants in the team. They're older guys. Now, when you're in a team with Darryl Watt, I always use Darryl Watt as an example, because this is the foundation of my life. This is where everything happened for me. This is where I learned. This is where I got my guidance. This is where I got my experience by following Darryl Watt. You bond as a team. You become very, very close to each other. Yes, but it doesn't mean in Civvy Street that you hang out together. However, when we were back in Salisbury and you go out the night with Darryl's a shit stirrer of night. He walk in a place, he immediately put a fight up. Darryl could not walk in a place and not cause trouble. Darryl Watt was a live wire. You know what I love about this man, and everybody loved him and everybody admired him, and still today, he's now a year younger, but still people talk about this guy today. It's like was talking about some great hero in life. You know what I mean? Somebody who stood out everywhere. It doesn't matter where you were in Rhodesia, people knew about Darryl Watt. And I called him the God of War, the true God of War, because there's no other way to term this guy. The way he went about things, the way he wasn't scared. He just kept going forward.
So, Uncle Mike, like what you said now, if you go into a punch up with those guys next to you, and when it's over and you go home, it's not like you guys hang out all the time together. Like, you're always together, even in Civvy Street, even after the war. Do you still keep in touch with a lot of the guys there? And is it do they become friends, or was that only because you were fighting together?
I'll be honest with you. When I got out of the bush in Rhodesia, I didn't mingle with the guys. I had a friend, Keith Clutie. Keith Clutie was like a honey badger. You could hit him with many things you want. He never stopped. He also loved fighting. And the only guy that I stayed in Russia, that I had contact at that stage was him. He would come to me and say, "Hey, Mike, here's big shit coming. I've got," and you see Keith has been in a brawl. And we go, and then we would go and flatten a couple of civvies, because Keith, I like that guy, just loved fighting. Now, I didn't mingle, but I did go out with Darryl on a few occasions. We were also out in certain areas, then that were, like, for argument, let's say, I'll just name an example, in Bulawayo, and you go to a pub the night while you're waiting to deploy, and you go out with Darryl, you're going to hit people, because Darryl would cause trouble. Darryl loved trouble. That guy was... You know what I enjoyed about him? We'd be sitting, you'd go out with some guys, and you on these very long deployments. Remember, I told you, water is your biggest enemy. And it would become boring. You'd move certain distances, then lie low and move. But with Darryl Watt, it's another ball game. He would sit around. I remember one day we were on the Russian front in Mozambique. I remember he was talking about us, maybe we should go and rob a casino. And we were actually discussing it to go and hit, I think it was Swaziland. We must go and hit it. We were chatting about it. It was Rob Slinkby, myself. I think Rob is dead today. Good soldier, very good operator. But this is Daryl Watt. He would sit and look where he can get shit. And he would sit and say, let's go and look for shit. You know what I mean?
Well,
A lot of people will find tracks and see the tracks and then move in the area because they got to get to a certain target to get there. Daryl Watt would look and say. And Daryl will go and stuff them up. He wasn't scared of it.
If you guys, I suppose, right, if you had to get a group of the boys together and decide to take on or go and rob a casino or something, the chances of you guys being stopped by the security guards in their suit and ties is very little. I think, like, really, if you guys had to really plan, and I think that's also why, excuse me, why a lot of the initial cash and transit heists, for example, that we had in South Africa, after a while they realized that it was done with military precision because it's trained soldiers that were doing it. So you guys never hit the casino, I gather, but it wouldn't be far-fetched to think about it and to actually just do it back in the day now when you guys were talking about it. I don't think you guys would have been stopped, really.
No, I can assure you we didn't do it. All right. Yeah. We did discuss it. It was actually funny. And of course, we were saying, yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, imagine walking in there, nobody knows who you are. They got no idea. Rugged guys coming with machine guns and everything. Who the hell is going to stand up against you? You know what I mean? But we didn't do it for the people out there. Please, it was just a venture that we spoke about because we were bored, but we didn't do it. But it would be the God of War to come up with some idea because, you know, he was bored.
Well, this is the thing. I think a lot of us also, we don't realize that it's like you say, it's a job, right? And even when you go to normal work, you get moments when you're bored and you sit around and talk shit with your colleagues. So it's just interesting to hear the other side of the pictures that we see always. These are soldiers, these glorious, and you don't think about, like, you can actually sit there and get bored. Were there times that you went out into the bush for days without contact?
Yes. Come on, tell you how this works. We had a place that we had to go to, and it wasn't with Daryl. Captain Mac died in a parachute. Good soldier. And while we got to penetrate, you got to get there to do a reconnaissance on this place to launch an attack. Then you can't have punch-ups because then you're blown. Then you got to sneak in and you got to be so kosher. You got to anti-track. You got to lie low during the day. You got to move at night with the moonlight. Look, it's different forms. Oh, that's the boring operations. The best operation were camp attacks because you had, you're in the firefight. But to infiltrate, it was nice once you got to your target, like we climbed this very high gommel at Samani. And there was a lot of amethyst on the hill. I brought some of the amethyst out. Beautiful stuff. And we were wrecking this area, and the attack was launched afterwards. Unfortunately, I wasn't part of it. It was a beautiful attack. And ambushed quite a convoy there, and they had some good fun. And I was very acid that I wasn't part of it because I was part of the reconnaissance,
So, what does it feel like the first time that you blow up something? Like you blow up a structure. What does that feel like? Do you feel accomplished?
I can't. Yeah, you did the job. You're told to do the job. You did it. You go back and it's done. You don't get a slap on the back or anything. Yeah. You're told, go there, do this, you do that, you come back, and that's it. End of the bloody story. They don't all sit there and
congratulate you.
Oh, it's done. It's normal. It's much the same as what you go to work every day and you go home. I mean, it's the same with that. You go and you do it and you come back. It is what it is. It's
Pambere
Nehondo. That's Mashona. Robert Mugabe. There's numerous, I can't remember the other word. with a Pomberi. Pomberi ne Chemarenga. That was, I actually had a poster in my office, which meant forward with the revolution. So I took it and I made it Pomberi ne Hondo. And I always believed all the years, because I came to South Africa with this and it didn't exist here. I never ever heard it existed. And then later on, as you go through life, I believe other units were using Pomberi ne Hondo, and I've never been aware of it.
What does that mean?
Forward, Hondo means war. So forward with the war was my cry.
So Robert Mugabe's guys had the cry forward with the revolution.
Yeah, this was his political story and all his posters. Forward with the revolution, get rid of all the whites, you understand?
Yeah.
Get the blacks and Pomberi ne Chemarenga, forward with the revolution. And because we were fighting them, which we believed we were stopping, which was the biggest load of garbage, we were just delaying time. We were just playing exactly the way they wanted us to play.
So
we were achieving absolutely nothing.
So Uncle Mike, you then ended up in 4 Recce in Palabora, right?
No, 5 Recce.
5 Recce in Palabora,
Yeah,
sorry.
5 Recce Palabora was 5-2 and 5-3. Was the 2 combatant units of Palabora. Those were the Recce combatants. 5-2 and 5-3. Palabora, ex-scouts and other expats and stuff were all there. Predominantly black.
When was that?
Well, after I had served my sentence at Ondangwa, and I came out and I was at Palabora, that must have been 87, 88. There, that area, 87, 88, 89. 89, I left them to other units, to other places where I went underground, which I can never talk about. That's when I was at Palabora. But you know, the strangest thing of all, I want you to hear this. The discipline of a base camp, everybody, you know, I didn't fit in properly because I was a bit of a loose cannon. I had a motorbike. I was different. I reasoned different than other people because I saw life differently. And I come from a different background. I didn't go through their little lives they had. I had a totally different life. And the commanding officer who despised me, I say it openly, despised the sight of me. The same one that sent me in on Ops Hooper towards the Fopla Brigade, which had to be mortared. And when they came down to attack UNITA, we had to go and attack them. And I was the guy that had to go out. That's where everything went wrong and I nearly died.
So Uncle Mike, sorry, before we carry on there, that's also in the book, eh?
Yes, it's in the
Okay,
book.
just so that the people who are watching, I mean, we didn't skip anything. It's just, it's in the book. If you want to read the whole story, get the book.
Yeah, Ops Hooper is a very death-defying act where I had, zero chance. I was caught in the beaten zone for whatever reasons twice. And I got out with one guy being wounded. Jim Maguire, myself, and 2 UNITA guys. The UNITA guy got hit in the hip. We were right in a world, I can't explain it what it is to be in. Because explosions are going off all around you, just dust, and it's a brownish red color in there.
Uncle Mike, I have a question also before we carry on with Palabora and the bases and all that. I've gotten to know you by now, and I understand that there's certain things that we can't talk about. But I always wonder, because the movies have also blown things out of proportion. when you say that there's certain things you can't talk about, why is that? Why are there certain things that you guys can't talk about? Because we discussed it last time also, that there's a lot of the wannabes, that the bullshitters, that always have that as an excuse. Oh, I can't talk about it because it was. But what is the actual reason why a lot of the special forces guys that were involved in certain operations, what are the actual reasons why you guys can never talk about certain things?
War is brutal. There's a lot of brutality out there. You can't, if I got to sit like same as 101, 32, Kufut, it's brutal out there. People are trying to kill you and you're killing people. There's no friendliness and shaking of hands, and we are killing each other and we're going each other's throats with a purpose of destroying each other. So there's certain things you don't want to talk about because let's put it this way. If we got to write the book in the factual way that is, a lot of people won't be able to sleep at night. And I'm honest with you because it is blood and guts. You've got to understand, war is not a tea party. Everybody is trying to kill everybody. And when we go in with a vengeance, with a determination, with a plan to kill whatever is there. And these guys are going out of their way to kill us. So it's a very brutal affair.
Okay. So I remember also you've also mentioned before that a lot of the time, even at your age, there's still some families that are still alive, and that's why you don't mention names. I'm just putting it out there because I would hate for people who haven't met you and who haven't read your book, who are watching this for the first time, to say, yeah, but you know that will say that. You can't talk about that. I'm not going to mention names. But now that you've explained the reason for it, that's probably, it makes more sense now, because there's certain people that you were there when that person got killed in the line of duty, and their families might be watching this as well. So that's why you also don't mention names. Am I onto something?
You cannot leave the names out of it. You know, if you look at a Rambo movie and you see how the killing is, and that, it looks actually romantic. You don't see how brutal death is until you've been out there. It's a tough. That body is disfigured. There's different things that happen out there. There's certain actions you got to go. Look, you can't talk about it, and you can't mention people's names. Some people are very sensitive that their names get mentioned. A lot of people don't want to be associated with it because of family. But it's easy for a wannabe bullshitter to play this game and say, oh, I can't talk about it. You know, you can't talk about it because he doesn't know what to talk about. You couldn't even begin to imagine what you see out there. You can't. If you haven't seen this, you can't imagine.
Does it change?
It's totally different.
The way, I think, and this would be quite interesting to hear from you. If you and I walk into a mall, for example, a shopping mall, do you look at the building and the people and everything around you differently to what I would? Do you experience it differently because of your training and what you went through? Does it become a reflex that you are always aware, always look around you? Or is it really not that until you actually go into combat?
I think it differs from person to person. Depending on your involvement and how involved you got, you will see it in a different light. I don't even want to elaborate on it. I went into a lot of things afterwards, got to do with surveillance and counter-surveillance and different ball game. And yes, I am very aware of my surroundings. And I'm also suspicious, and I look at, like I'll pick up somebody and I'll watch that person. If I see it again, then I'll get suspicious. You know, just things that work on me, especially when I drive out of a parking area. As a driver, I look at what else car comes out. You know, I'm just aware of a lot of things that I actually look at because there's so much happening out there. You just got to be aware. I've actually got friends and I've got people that I actually inform how these things work. What you look for when you stop in the parking area. What you do when you come out. What you do while you're in the mall. What you look at. How you pick up things. Just a guy standing randomly in a parking area. Don't just ask the guy standing. these guys, you got to be so aware. And you can pick, if you know these things, pick it up. I pick it up. I am aware and I can see danger. I know it. I can see it and I can sense it.
Was it a bit of a transition for you to let's talk about that also. Like, how did you end your career as a soldier? Was it different? What was the transition like, moving away from war into civil life?
Well,
and how did you do that? Like, why? What was the end of Mike West's soldiering career?
When these puppies at Palabora decided that they wanted to put me under discipline and humiliate me by sending me to a military college where I had to study to become a sergeant major and go through all the discipline. And that is discipline. It's a very, very disciplined place, and it's horrific. And they exposed me to this life, and I went through it, and I excelled, believe it or not, because of my anger towards the people that put me there, that tried to humiliate me, but I excelled and I came out with distinctions. That sort of gave me a different perspective of the army. I actually saw what, let's put it, the admin or the jam stealer side of the army was like. That's where I didn't have any of this because I was always in combat. But I got a good look into how these things function and see how these people think, and I disliked it immensely. I wish the Third World War would have broken out to blow that whole bloody college up. You know, whether I went with it or not, I couldn't give a damn. I was appalled by what they did to me. But to end that part, the fact that I went through all that garbage, I know they tried to humiliate me and make me fail. I can come back, I can tell me I'm worthless. But I came back and I wasn't worthless. I came out with distinctions. And many of their people that rejected me over life, they failed. And I never failed. So when I came back, they were buggered. They didn't know what do we do with this guy now? He's just shown us.
Yeah, he passed the exam. We were hoping that he would fail.
Okay, we won't promote him. We tell him he gets promoted if he makes a sergeant. Bugger him, we won't promote him. Leave him where he is, humiliate him even more. And that's exactly what they did. But fortunately, other things were happening in the country and other people needed special forces people. And it was special forces guy that started this, that was in this organization, who needed men to come into a different world. And they came, and that's how I got out of it. The war was over anyway. You know? So when they took me out of there, I was so relieved to get out of there because I was sick and tired of looking at a bloody base camp every day and people sweeping buildings and mopping floors and, you know, and your weapon is clean, but you've got to clean your rifle again, and just to keep yourself busy. I was too grateful to get out of it. And I went into another world, and I learned a lot. You've got to learn very quickly in this game. I learned very quickly because I was exposed to very, very difficult things, and I enjoyed it.
So what world did you move into after soldiering?
Underground. That's all I can say. I operated as a civilian and people didn't know who I was. And my job was to infiltrate organizations and places and just mingle with the rest and expose certain things. And that's what I did. And believe me, I did it successfully. Very good at it. You can see I got a ponytail today. I used to wear earrings. I used to dress in pink shirts. Made myself look like a piece of garbage. People look at me and think, look at that piece of... Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I was very busy and I was doing well at it. And I was very successful in my career. I've got people who can talk about it, which we can't. And I'm proud to say I mingled in another world and I went bigger than most people in that world. And I've got people who can attest this. I went into something and I excelled because I got the drive in me to do it. I had the energy and the initiative, and I just somehow got the feel of this, how to go about this, because I never wanted to be stagnant. okay, do this, do it and sit back. I would always do it and look how I could take it further. And I did.
Went quite far.
Yes, I did. I did all of this. Yes, I excelled in whatever I did. This was always my motive in life. That's why I could blend so well with Darryl Watt. Because Darryl Watt never stopped, and I fitted in perfectly with him.
Uncle Mike, in before we end off this one, in all of your time, except for Darryl Watt, who is one of the most interesting people that you got to work with in any one of your jackets that you had on, whether it was in the prison, the taxi drivers, the various special forces that you were in, the Grey Scouts, the RLI, doesn't matter who, besides Darryl Watt, who was one of the most interesting people that you met?
A 19-year-old Lieutenant Mike Recce in Tucumán. This guy that I said is a Tom Cruise. Being 8 years older than the guy and going into combat, not only with him, with his NCOs that were under him that actually led me into combat. Bloody a lance corporal, argument on the fire would take me, a corporal would take me into combat. But Mike Recce impressed me like you can't believe. I really had so much admiration for this guy. To see a guy, remember it was a new ball game, to go into combat with people like that, well, it never fazed me. But if I saw him scared, then I would have, I'd be very confused. But what I was doing was normal because he was normal. They were under fire and he stayed cool, calm and collective. So to me, it was the right thing. No, it was, but the greatest man I've met, big people, I've sat with people, I'm not going to mention names, where I was, who I've met, but the giant of my life is Darryl Watt. Because everything, you must remember one thing, I had no cooking clue what I was doing, where I went to, and I landed. I went in with different people and had some horrible experiences. I've seen some things that I don't want to talk about. But with him, there was always a way forward. No matter how dire the situation. With him, with Darryl Watt, the God of War, always a way forward. This guy set an example for me which I carried on in my life. I mean, I don't know of people that in combat actually run at people. Now, I would never have known this if I didn't know it was right. Darryl did it, so to me it was right. So when I got attacked by the swapper on a flanking attack, I ran and killed a whole lot and captured 8 of them. Most people ever captured in combat, nothing said about it, because Darryl Watt did it. And then when I got caught in that ambush, where they hit me with a rifle grenade, I got up and I ran at them. Darryl Watt. That's what Darryl Watt didn't lay back. When Darryl Watt initiated that thing, go forward. And what?
Are you guys still in touch, you and Darryl?
Yes, I speak to him on a daily basis. We WhatsApp. He's in Zambia in a conservancy. He just had cataracts removed from his eyes because the people would say he's going blind. He had a successful operation. He can see well. So the poachers are going to pay big time now. With Darryl Watt back on the go again, they're going to pay. That guy is absolutely unstoppable.
And Uncle Mike, before we finish off now, it was nice to speak to you again. We're going to do more, obviously, because there's so much more to do. What are your plans now? Are you going to be heading on to some podcasts? You got coins.
What happened is I've got a campaign manager with a very good guy who's also my project manager. He came into the picture. Very intelligent lad. He went and the first coins of their type in South Africa, laser printed coins. I mean, I was in 5 units. The Grey Scouts, RLI, SAS, 1 Recce and 5 Recce. There's a coin for each of these units with a photo from that time with a unit badge. That's in bronze. Then he made SAS coins, which is sterling silver, 99.9%. Very, very classy stuff. Lasered, perfect stuff, which he's busy with at the moment. They on sale, coins. there's quite a big order already on the coins. And then he also put a project forward where they're making a Mike West knife, which is in progress. Beautiful knife. You must see this. It's taken this guy, his name is Roy, quite a while. Awesome guy. Very good forger or knife maker, whatever they call him, blade maker. Beautiful knife he made. When this is complete, he will have the whole thing in process and he can manufacture many. We've got quite a few people that want the Mike West knife as well. So this is what he's doing. And then I'm doing a podcast now with Fighting Men of Rhodesia with Hannes Wessels, the author of my book. I'll be doing that, probably a couple of them, because there's quite a lot to talk about. And Hannes, who knows all about war and has dealt with other SAS operators and been in combat himself, will be conducting that. Then I've got an overseas podcast coming up. I'm not going to mention the name as yet. I've already been accepted. We're mailing my book over there so they can read the book, so they know how to interview me. That's set for August, the 30th of August. So yes, this thing has gone big. It's really gone big.
Okay, so the next time that you come in, we're going to have some of the coins maybe, and maybe one of the Mike West knives.
I do not know how soon the knife will be done. The coins, well, the people are buying them up. So
well, then I'll have to put my order in.
I've actually got one silver coin, the very first one that was made, and they gave it to me as a gift with no number. All the coins are numbered. They're all numbered, so we can control it, so there's no pirating on the story. But I'll bring the coin with next time. A sterling, a fine silver, 99.9%. Beautiful coin, which they gave me. My campaign manager purchased and gave it to me as a gift. Very good.
Well, they should actually give it to you for free anyway, because it's your face on the
Doesn't
coin.
matter, but somebody had to pay for it. You know what I mean? The guy who manufactured it wants money. But anyway, my campaign manager purchased it and gave it to me as a gift, which I really appreciate. It's my safe at the moment.
Cool. Thanks, Uncle Mike. We've got a lot more to talk about, but we've run out of time. So we'll see you again in the next few weeks. Do it again.